Hey, Shalom, I want to start off souls by giving all praise to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua, Bahashem, HaKadosh, that belongs to the apostles of Great Millstone and honestly brothers doing the work of the most on truth and in sincerity. This is, let me start off by saying, Yahweh, that's the true name of whom the world ignorantly calls God, Yahweh, Jehovah, etc. His true name is Yahweh, Yahweh, and his son's name, right, whom the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, right, is Yahweh Shai, right, Yahweh Shai. Okay, so yeah, I was watching these cats earlier on while I was working. Just had them on in the background and everything. And then basically it was this clip here. Well, just what you call it, I'll play a second of it because when you navigate away from the tab, it makes the screen black. Where you see the woman there in the small. Can I? Here we go. You see the woman there on the right. Okay, basically she basically did a study. She asked men, what they look for in a woman. Men just, said like 3 or 4 things, things basically what the men said, look, man, as long as she ain't no diva, that's which ultimately that's what it is, because when you read the scriptures talk about how when you get a woman, man, you gonna have trouble in the flesh, man. Right? This is First Corinthians 7:28. It says, and if thou marry, thou hast not sinned, and if a virgin marry, she hath not sinned. Nevertheless, such shall have trouble in the flesh, but I spare you. Okay, because when you're dealing with a woman, that is that is a conduit for Satan, right? That is a way for Satan to come in to your life, right? Because the different avenues, people around you, your family, your boss, your woman, that's just another way. And especially when you really think about when you're with your woman, that's the person that you're around more than anyone else. Right? If you live with her, if you're not able to afford to stay separate, like if you live with your woman, that means you spend more time with her than you do with Archeum, right? Not in terms of like getting on my brother's dick, because that's the nature of what it is. That's the person you share a house with. So that is just a way for Satan to just be in your life. Okay. So yeah, I won't go too much into it. And then there was so the men, they basically said like four things, right? Whereas the women, they had like a list 300 long, right? He basically they gave a list 300 long, while I remember. Because Says Sirach 25:16, I'd rather dwell with a lion and a dragon than to keep house with a wicked woman, right? Which ultimately that's it. That's in a man just want to chill, man, right? When you watch, if you do watch the clip, right? This is from the channel Abba and Preach, which what do you call it? The case. Abba's the guy, the Ethiopian looking guy on the right. And he's basically the main person. So the guy, the Jake on the left, the Haitian, a so-called Haitian on the left, he's a bit free, man, a bit emotional. But the one of mainly with sense is the one on the right. Okay, and what was the point I was gonna make with that? But yeah, oh yeah, no, just saying that's where you can watch it. And funny enough, Spirit had it whereby the elder brother, Yashawamba, from Dallas, Yashwamba, he basically just did a video of the longer clip of this, right? Where Abba's on the Fresh and Fit podcast. And once again, there's another one where you get, these just low quality, women, making these demands, these crazy demands, right? And then when you watch the clip, right, and he's quite animated, the guy in the middle is quite animated, you can really see, like, what the hell are these women on about, right? Because at the end of the day, they don't bring anything to the table, right? And this world that has been created for them by the devil Lee, right, is close and to coming to an end, right? So in fact, let me, while I remember, this is Jeremiah 31:22. Right, it says, how long will thou go about all thy backsliding daughter? For the Lord Yahweh hath created a new thing in the earth. A woman shall come past a man. So basically now we live in a world where a woman is above the man. Now, Would you call it? And this is the power of the witchcraft, because here it is, when us men that are able to discern things, can discern that, in for the common man, the woman is actually the one that has all the power, right? That's how he has set it up. But because of the witchcraft, he has actually made them believe that they're the ones that are oppressed, right? When really they have all the power in this world. Okay, and you've seen it. I remember one comedian, basically, did this experiment. Funnily enough, it was a female comedian. I forget who what her name was, right? But basically, her whole thing was like, nah, man, you gotta keep it. She's a feminist, so she's a feminist demon. But she was like, look, man, your feminism has to be on point. That's what she was saying. Because, and then maybe she did this experiment where she called, a hypothetical guy, fat and ugly or whatever, and then the whole crowd laughed. Right then, she called a hypothetical a woman fat and ugly, and the whole crowd were like, "Oh!" And this was a hypothetical, and she harped on that. She like, she doesn't even exist, and you lot are offended, right? Which just goes to show you just how much of a I don't want to use this gynocracy. I don't know, I forget the exact word. It just goes, but basically just shows you how bitch made this kingdom is. Okay, so that just shows you who's really in control here. Okay, so yeah, that was on. I had something else on my mind. What was on my mind? Ah, yeah. I get some of the wipe the dust off some of these. Right, it's Isaiah 29:16. Right, which, to be fair, I get this all the time anyway. It's Isaiah 10. I'm gonna get after. I'll always get. It says, surely a turning of things upside down shall be esteemed as the potter's clay. For shall the work say of him that made it, he made me not, or shall the thing framed say of him that framed it, he had no understanding. So this is, giving a, is it allegory? I think is the word I want. But basically, this is given like an example, saying, yo, if you make if you make something, if you make a curry, if you make a pot, if you make a mirror, right? Can the thing that you made turn around to you and say, "Man, you didn't know what you was doing, right? You made it. Of course, you knew what you was doing. You wanted it that way, right?" But that thing is the creation, and you are the creator, right? And that's basically what Esau is doing. Esau's going up to the Most High and saying to the Most High, "Oh, you didn't know what you was doing. Fuck it, I'm just gonna turn things out. I'm gonna do things my way, right?" And do you know what would happen, right? You go on. I'll give you an example, and we've all been through this, right? When you're on your computer or on your phone, something digital like that, and then you tell it to do something, you click on something, and it's clicking something else. What do? You get frustrated. You fucking close that thing, man. Fuck you. You get annoyed. You get annoyed, and you shut that thing down. That's what the Most High is gonna do to E, right? He's gonna shut E down because E is not following the right. I mean, he's being the perfect devil, right? But the thing in being the perfect devil, right? He's wreaking havoc, just like how you may create a virus to run and destroy a computer, right? But after a while, if you're the person who the virus, if you it's your computer whom the virus is on, after all, you're like, man, fuck this, I want to get rid of this virus, man. And that's what he is. He's the virus that will be deleted. Okay. Lord, all that analogy made sense. As Isaiah 10, it says, "Woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees and outright grievousness which they have prescribed," and all these different legislations that have basically enabled Jeremiah 31:22 to come to pass, right? It's all wickedness, right? Because the Lord hath set an order, right? And everything is to be done decently and in order. Was it 1 Corinthians 1:10? I was actually going somewhere else, but no, that's divisions among you. That's not the one I want. Oh, it's 1 Corinthians 14, isn't it? 1 Corinthians 14:40, right? It says, "Let all things be done decently and in order." Okay, and that's what it's all about. Scriptures say in Matthew 6, but in the Lord's Prayer, right, about uh um uh in heaven, on earth as it is in heaven, right? And things in heaven are in order. So things on earth, they're going to be in order, right? That's just how the way the Most High likes. And that's the way it's supposed to be. 1 Corinthians 11:3, right? Didn't mean to make that rhyme, but it just happened this time. It says 1 Corinthians 11:3, but have you know that the head of every man is Yahushai, and the head of the woman is the man, and the head of Yahushai is the Most High. So that is the order of things, right? But he has basically flipped that round, right? This is Isaiah 32:9, right? Because once again, yeah, these what do you call it? These broads, right? They had from this woman's studies, right? She basically was like, yo, these broads had 300 different requirements, right? Getting on men because the men, the man, he had a brown belt and black shoes, right? Stupid things, which also goes to show you why, in the ancient world, right, the man was, was the head of the woman always. Okay. Is it Numbers? Yeah, Numbers 30:3. Right. So if you look at the contrast, Isaiah 30 and Numbers 30:2, right, it says, if a man vow unto Yahweh or swear an oath to bind his soul with the bond, he shall not break his word. He shall do according to all that proceedeth out of his mouth. If a woman vow unto Yahweh, right, and bind herself by a bond, being in her father's house in her youth, and her father hear her vow and her bond wherewith she hath bound her soul, and her father shall hold his peace at her, then all her vows shall stand, and every bond wherewith she hath bound her soul shall stand. Right, but if her father disallow on the day that he heareth it, not any of her vows or her bonds wherewith she hath bound her soul shall stand, and the Lord Yahweh shall forgive her because her father disallowed it. Yeah, basically, because she had no understanding, man. Right, father was just there. And it's the same for the husband. You can read verses 6 and 7 and 8. Right, basically going into the same thing, right? Man might hear it, even like, man, whatever, man, you know, what you talking about, right? Just basically showing you the order, right, in things, right? But what was I saying? Yeah, that was the point. So let me just read this 300 things, right? But that's why in the ancient world, these arrangements would have been prearranged. Okay. So Isaiah 32:9 says, rise up, you women that are at ease, hear my voice, ye careless daughters, give ear into my speech. Right. And especially in this like in this other one, in the fresh and fit, they like having these these broads, just there talking. And you can actually see the one on the right of the thumbnail there. I can't zoom in on this. You can see, but she was just a dumb broad, man. She was just a dumbass broad. Okay. And you know what it is. You just gets to a point where it's like, I'll be honest, man. I don't like hearing women talk. I don't like hearing it. It is just garbage to me. I fucking hate it. Right. If I am watching this, I'm watching it for someone like Abba, who's got, he's quite balanced. Obviously he's in the world, so he says things of the world, but he's quite a balanced individual in the way he looks at things, right? But in terms of the rest of us, like, man, hey, what you bringing, right? You ain't bringing no edification, you just bring confusion, right? The scripture says what? Let me grab that, man. Completely forgot. Clamor, verse. This is Proverbs 19:9. Proverbs 9:13. A foolish woman is clamorous; she's simple and knoweth nothing. Right. So that's why me personally, I'm like, look, man, I ain't even trying to hear what you're saying. Right. Because they ain't no. What did King Solomon say? He said he looked, for amongst men, he looked amongst 1,000, found one, but among women he found none. Okay. He says, Isaiah 32, rise up, you women that are at ease, hear my voice, you careless daughters, give ear unto my speech. Many days and years shall ye be troubled, you careless women, for the vintage shall fall, the gathering shall not come. Tremble, ye women that are at ease, be troubled, ye careless ones. Strip you and make you bare and gird sackcloth upon your loins. Okay, so that's going into our women, they're at ease, man. Why? Because E has created this system where they can be at ease. They shall lament for the teats, for the pleasant fields, and for the fruitful vine. Okay, and it's also going into all of these different government programs that this man has set up for these broads, right? And whatever have allowed them to live outside the authority of a man, but those days are over, right? The Lord is correcting, and would you call it? And as brothers have been watching these podcasts and this and the other, Lord, one of the things that keeps coming up is the Lord is starting to correct, this breach, right? I forget this aberration, right? ABBERRATION, aberration. It's either one or two words. Right? Something that's not supposed to be, something that just ain't right. The Lord is done to correct things in this world. Okay. I'll just read this real quick because in that Fresh and Fit podcast of ABBA, right, one of the questions was like, would you bring to the table, right? And that's a fair enough question, right? Because in this thing of ours, we may be lusting for women or whatever, but really it's what benefit is she, is she, or rather, the question is she's a woman of burden, which they'll all be burdened to some, degree, right? But it's just like you just have to really stop and think, before making that endeavor and really understand what it is that you're getting yourself into, right? Because as the Apostle Gabade did his video, right? If she's always scantily clad, why what that you just know that's gonna give you stress. Okay. It's Proverbs 31:10. It says, who can find a virtuous woman? For her price is far above rubies. The heart of her husband doth safely trust in her, so that he shall have no need of spoil. She will do him good and not evil all the days of her life. Right? So when you ask, what do you bring to the table? The things that are written in Proverbs 31, these are the things that are actually of use. Okay. Because would you call it the typical answer these women will always give is just sex, and that's it, because that's all they give, right? Verse 13 it says she seeketh wool and flax and worketh willingly with her hands, and that's just the first time really looked at that word there, willingly. Okay, and just like how when we're doing the work of the Most High, we've got to be doing it willingly, right? And to echo the same sentiment, that the apostles have said before, and woman should both be wanting to be a woman to willingly, man. Okay, she's like the merchant's ships. She bringeth her food from afar. She riseth also while it is yet night, and giveth meat to her household and a portion to her maidens. And the older generation of women, some of them, will still kind of do this or wake up early, right? Make sure that the food is all prepared for when the people in the house, whether it be the husband and the children, well, the husband and the children, right? Or sometimes even some whatever extended families that make sure that they got food when they wake up, right? She considereth the field and buyeth it. With the fruit of her hand she planted the vineyards, right? She's skillful, right? She's thinking about the household. Whereas one of the things that's very evident, right, in this kingdom is everyone in this kingdom is selfish, man. It's selfish. It's about me, right? Whereas, this thing of ours, we realize actually, no, I am my brother's keeper, right? Two is better than one. This notion that women will say, oh, I don't need a man, or I can do bad by myself. We don't say that as men, right? Especially men in this truth. We understand that actually, there's a body for a reason, because there are things that I know that a brother might not know, and there are things a brother knows that I might not know. And do you know what happens when would you call it, when we come together, right? Problems get solved. And that's why the scriptures talk about being one in Yahweh Shai. Okay, we're the body of Yahweh Shai. So yeah, went on way longer than I expected it to, but it is what it is. As always, Lord's what I was edifying. Till next time we say shalom.